All right, that is a little sample of some of what we're looking at today. So this lesson is on practicing pentatonic fills, specifically fills, on the bass in a musical way that draws from real world examples. I'm going to show you how to do that with one example here in this video, and that's going to give you a formula that you can then take to steal ideas from your favorite musicians and your favorite recordings. So if you follow my channel, about a week or so ago, you would have seen me post a video of a transcription note for note of a Halsey cover. Let me go ahead and plug in a little clip from that we're going to use. Here it goes. So it seems. Is it love or a panic inside? Okay, you probably noticed that fill going into a chorus. And you might even notice that sounds eerily similar to a lot of what I was playing in the intro. This fill is going to be the basis of this video. So as I was learning that song, that fill happens one time in the song, but I really liked the way it sounded. So I wanted to steal this idea for my own playing. And you've probably heard a lot of players talk about stealing ideas from records. But if we get too focused on the specifics, and I say, okay, the recording is an F major, it's a pentatonic fill, it's over a C major chord, the 4 chord, at 120 beats per minute, how many times am I realistically going to have 120 beat per minute groove, C major chord in the key of F major where I can use that exact fill? It's not going to happen, right? Here and there, sure, but it's not going to happen often. So what I'm going to show you today is a way to take fills that happen in a specific musical moment and reduce them down to formula that you can apply in many different musical situations. So let's jump right into this. The demonstration riff, this Halsey bass fill, is again in the key of F major. Obviously pentatonic. Now, here's how I want to break this down. We could look at the specific notes, but that's, again, specific and very contextual. And I think that's actually going to get in the way of translating this into different musical situations. So what I want us to think about is simply, are we going up the scale or down the scale? How does each note connect to the note before? This happens to start on the 5th scale degree, C in this case, but that actually doesn't matter. We could start this on any scale degree, and we will start this on different scale degrees. We're starting on a given note. What's our first move? We go 1 scale degree up, and then back down. Now, specifically, it's a hammer-on and a pull-off. You don't have to play it that way. You could articulate each note. You could do a slide. But I'm going to stick to what they do in the riff. So hammer-on and pull-off. We go up 1 scale degree and back down. Then we go down to the next scale degree. And then we do this. That's a cool sound, right? It's what I call a slur or simply a hammer-on, a very fast hammer-on. In this case, it's happening between the 2nd scale degree and the 3rd scale degree. But again, let's not focus too much on that. Let's think about this. We're starting on a given note, going up, down, down, down again, and we hammer on. to the next note, and back up one. Now here's why I think this fill is a good one to study. Every note is moving either to the next highest note in the scale or the next lowest note in the scale. There are no leaps. We're never skipping a note in the pentatonic scale. We're simply going to the next closest note, either up or down. There's a simplicity to that that's really nice when you're first trying to work on pentatonic fills. So now let me show you why it's helpful to break this down in a formula like that without thinking too much about the specific notes. Is this the fifth or the sixth or the third? We can now take that and we can start it on any scale degree. But before we do that, let's point out we're not just stuck in F major. Excuse me. We can do this in a different key. So let's try this in G major. If I want to start on the fifth again, sounds the same. It's in a different key though. But what if I want to start on second scale degree? Okay. Do you hear how it's the same formula? The notes are different, so the intervals are different. But it's actually the same idea. Starting on a note, going up, back down, going down, but doing that slur, down, down again, back up one. It's the exact same idea. Starting on the fifth, starting on the second. What if I want to start on the root? Same idea each time. The sound of it changes a little bit, even when I play it out of context here, because the intervals are different. If we start playing this over a drone, where our ears have context harmonically, it's going to sound even more different each time. One idea, 5 versions that pop right up automatically. So the first way that I'd recommend working on this, what I'm going to demonstrate first for you, is simply taking this in a given key and practicing this riff starting on each of the 5 pentatonic notes. Same formula, starting on each of the 5 notes. Now, at first, you might need to kind of figure that out, like what's the shape of this? How does this work if I start on the second? What about the third? What about the fifth, sixth, root? But once you've got a basic handle on it, what I'd recommend specifically is getting a groove going. So I'm going to do a 120 BPM rock groove. And let's do a measure of groove or pocket and then a measure of the fill. So for the groove, let's keep it real simple. Let's just do on and on, or some similar kind of simple thing. We'll do a measure of that, and then we'll do one of these fills, back and forth. But to have some repetition and a bit of a method here, what I like to do at first is I like to do each of the fills 4 times in a row. So I got my groove. Now I'm ready for a fill. Let's say I'm going to start on A, the second scale degree. Back to groove. Back to A. Back to groove. I'm going to do that back and forth 4 times. And if I'm hitting it each of the 4 times, maybe then I'm ready to move on and I'll start on G. 4 times. Okay, now I'm ready to start on E. You'll see this in a second, so I won't verbally talk through the whole thing. But if you're doing this and you're getting stuck on one, or you notice you're consistently messing up one of them, okay, maybe stop and just drill that one over and over. Let's go ahead and see how this would look to go each of the 5 possible starting notes 4 times each, groove, fill, groove, fill. Here we go. All right. If you're still here, good for you. That's a lengthy demo because that's kind of a lot of notes to do each one and do it 4 times, but that repetition is really valuable. So now let's talk about how we can take this thing to the next step. Well, what are we not doing yet? What we're not doing yet, first off, is really improvising. I have assigned you something to play, and you're playing it, or you're watching me play it at least. It's not actually improvisation yet, is it? Internalizing fills like this, where you study one piece of vocab, is going to actually help you long term to improvise because it's going to connect ideas up here with your hands and all that. But in the short term, let's also practice improvising right away. So here's a good way to do that. Now that you've gotten these 5 different fills under your fingers, let's use that as a launching point. So again, we're going to play in G. We're going to do groove, fill, groove, fill, groove, fill. But this time, we're going to have an A time through and then a B time through. And on the A time through, we're going to play one of the fills that we know already. You can pick any of them. It doesn't have to be the same one. And then on the B time through, you're going to make up a fill. Aim for simplicity. Focus on a simple idea that you can try to hear as you're playing it. Don't focus on squeezing in as many notes as possible. Try to actually hear the notes, singing them in your mind or maybe even singing them out loud as you play it. So A time through, groove, one of the practiced fills. B time through, groove, and an improvised fill. Back to A, groove, and a practiced fill. Back to B, groove, and an improvised fill. Let me show you what this might look like with some simple fills to get started. Okay, great. So we're improvising. Can we make this even more involved? Can we find another way to kind of step this up or level this up? Well, we sure can. Again, if we ask the question, what are we not doing? Well, the thing that stands out most to me, we are not changing chords. There is so much bass education material out there that's really focused on playing over a single chord vamp, like an infinite, endless G major chord. And that's cool, but there's not all that much actual music that happens over a single chord. You might have had this experience, I know I have, of practicing something over a static chord like that, and then going to actually play with a band, and it's like it doesn't come out because it's so much harder to play over a progression. So let's go ahead and do this over a progression. I'm just going to make one up here. Let's do G major. So obviously the one chord. E minor, the 6th chord. And then let's do something here for a little interest. Let's do 4, which is C major, for half the measure. And then F major, which would be the flat 7, for the second half of that measure. And we'll resolve that down to the 5 chord, D major. So G major, 2, 3, 4. E major, 2, 3, 4. C major, 2. F major, 4. And then D major, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Over and over. But what we'll do is we'll add in this fill. And so I guess some of those will actually be longer because we'll do groove, fill. For the C to F section, we won't do a fill there. That'll be a chance to not fill, which is also super important. Nothing is less interesting than hearing any musician play a fill every measure or at the end of every phrase. So each time through that chord progression, you're going to play 3 fills. Now, a good way to start off is maybe each time through that progression, we will do one version of the fill we've practiced. So starting on A, each time through the progression. Next time through the progression, maybe we start on G. Next time through the progression, maybe we start on E. I'm going to demo this. I won't do all 5 versions because that'll just make this video longer than anyone's actually going to watch, but I'll show you maybe 2 versions of what this would look like over a chord progression with the groove. This is going to get you thinking about a progression and keeping track of where you are in a progression, and it's going to get you hearing these pentatonic fills as the chords change underneath them, which will change the way the notes actually sound. So let me go ahead and demo that. Amazing. Okay, so I've shown you 3 variations. I think that's a good stopping point. Let's do a really quick recap. We've practiced playing, well, first we've practiced taking a fill from an actual piece of music and turning it into a formula. Then we took that in a given key and we played it on every possible starting note. That was the first exercise. Then we practiced combining that with actually improvising our own fills. It's the second exercise. Third exercise, we took that same thing but moved it through a chord progression to give ourselves a more realistic context. Next thing you could do with this is take the chord progression and alternate practiced fills with improvised fills. And then from there, maybe you can find your own versions. So that's it for now. Thanks for watching. Remember to subscribe and all that good stuff. Helps me to kind of keep making this stuff. Comment if you come up with variations of your own, alternate ways to practice this stuff. If it's really helpful or if you run into any roadblocks, let me know, and I will see you in the next one.